No more predictions on this episode of Locked On Guardians after Jeff and I kind of called our shot last week about the Patrick Bailey trade. But what we do have is a team we have to talk about that didn't score with runners in the scoring position all weekend against the Twins, and a whole lot of questions about the future of the catching position for the Guardians.
You are Locked On Guardians, your daily podcast on the Cleveland Guardians. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yes, as you heard correctly last week on the Locked On Guardians podcast, Jeff Ellis said the Guardians should trade for Patrick Bailey. And then I said, yeah, I give up Tugboat. I think I said George Valera. I give up George Valera and Tugboat. And it took more than George Valera to get Patrick Bailey, but it did take Tugboat. Not really a shock there. Don't have the winning lottery numbers for you today. Don't have any other predictions, unfortunately. Oh, actually, I do have a prediction, Jeff, at the end of the show. We'll save the prediction I have at the end of the show. I don't think it's a hot take, but it's a prediction. But this is Locked On Guardians, of course. And you heard it's your daily podcast on the Guardians. Even on Saturdays, when big moves happen, we are here for you. Even if it hasn't been your day, your week, your month, or even your year.
Yes, that is. I had a soccer game. I had to coach. So yes, you jumped in for the good.
My wife was at a wedding shower, and I had nothing else to do before the Cavs game. So I said, you know what? I want to talk about this trade, and all the fans wanted to talk about it with me. So that was a lot of fun. So thanks if you tuned into the live stream on Saturday, and if you've watched it since, which a lot of you have. So we do appreciate that. Today's show, we'll talk about what's next for Bo Naylor, Cooper Ingle, and Kody Huff. We'll talk about what Patrick Bailey brings, and we'll let Jeff kind of chime in on the trade as well and talk about the aftermath of that trade. But we got to talk first about the lack of clutch hitting in the Minnesota series. Very, very disappointing. Today's episode brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account. Just go Lockdown for $20 off your first purchase. Yes, we'll talk about the series first. We'll get into Patrick Bailey and the catching situation later. So if you're not really wanting to rehash this ugly Twins series, just fast forward. Don't leave. Just fast forward. It's fine. We have the timestamps in the comments for a reason. So Friday was fun. Travis Bazzana hit his first home run of his career. It was very rainy, but they had a 4-run first inning. They went out and they attacked kind of the same way they did to Seth Lugo on Thursday. That seemed to carry over, and that worked really well. And I was like, oh, that's exciting. I thought we were in store for a very exciting weekend. I knew I should have known better because Joe Ryan was pitching on Saturday, and historically, he seems like a hard guy to hit for Cleveland. Although he didn't have a good year last year. I looked it up. He didn't have a good year last year against the Guardians. Historically, though, he has been tough for them. And we just know when Tanner Bibey's on the mound, no matter how good he pitches, the Guardians are like, you know what? We are not scoring for this guy today. We are just not going to hit. Tanner must have done something. I know you tweeted this, but Tanner must have done something because these hitters, man.
Made me think of the movie Major League. I was like, man, I'm not saying he did, but it made me think about the movie.
Oh, yeah, I don't think we pulled a wild thing here.
I don't think he did either, but that's where my mind went. Because
maybe it's like you ever had you see these things. It's probably never happened to you in real life, but I feel like I see it all the time on like skit videos. Is like where your wife or girlfriend dreams that you cheated on her in a dream, and then she gets mad at you for it. Have you ever seen like?
Oh, we jokingly do that in my house when that happens because that was an episode of Friends. That was speaking of Friends.
Yes, it was. So maybe the hitters all dreamt that Tanner Bibey did something to them that wasn't real, and they're just like, yeah, we dreamt that he did something awful to us, so now we're not going to hit. They had so many opportunities, and by the way, this is not a surprise. This is going to lead into most of our show today about catching. Austin Hedges for the first time caught Tanner Bibey this year. Best start of the season for Tanner. Most whiffs he's had this year. Tied for second most whiffs he's ever had in his career. By the way, he had 22 whiffs. That's the third time in his career he's done it. He's only done that. He had 20. It's the third time in his career he's had 20 whiffs in a game. His career high was 22. I hate to say it. I don't want to bury Bo Naylor, but
we had heard this though, that Bo Naylor was not great at this. We had heard that he didn't call good games from multiple sources.
Yeah, I will say, I think there's a level of execution from Tanner on Friday too that was a big deal. But no, it was one of his highest changeup usage of the year. It was his highest cutter usage of the year. It was his lowest four-seam fastball usage of the year. And you could kind of say okay, maybe that was just the plan of attack against the Twins. It's the first time you've seen the Twins all season. So you could say that too. There's a lot of factors here. So it's not just Hedges good, Naylor bad. there's a lot of factors, but I don't think it was a coincidence. I really can't say that it's a coincidence.
Because it's not. It's clearly not. Like, let's be honest.
But it didn't matter because the Guardians were what, 2 for 15 or 0 for 15 on Saturday.
Well, they only had 2 hits, just like the Twins only had 2 hits, both to Buxton, as everyone knows. But they had 9 walks, and it's just like, make freaking contact. Like, that was what I was sitting there. Like, get the bases loaded. No, we're gonna strike out with 1 out, and the one thing I'll say is, like, God, Bazzana felt like the only guy. They did. Bazzana was the only guy I felt like comfortable. For Bazzana, it's like either he struck out, or I'm sorry, he walked, or he hit the ball hard somewhere. I'm like, unfortunately, he never was the guy up in those situations. But it was just, that was maybe the most frustrating game of the year. I remember texting you and we were talking about, oh, Chase's hit streak's over, and you're like, well, unless it goes into extras. I'm like, it's going into extras.
Yeah, you were right on that. I mean, I will say, Saturday night, I put this out on Twitter. I'm still calling it Twitter or social media. The batted ball data in the 9th inning by the Guardians was 89.1 for Chase DeLauder, 520 expected batting average. Daniel Sheeman hit at 100.9, which Brooks Lee made an incredible catch. I also didn't realize that you could still have 5 infielders. That's not part of the band shift. Like,
I didn't know that either.
Yeah, twice on Saturday, Derek Shelton came in and brought Austin Martin into the infield and played with 2 outfielders, which ended up working out great for them. But I assumed with the shift band, you couldn't have 5 infielders, and they can. So Brooks Lee made a great play on Sheeman's 100.9 mile an hour line drive that had a 670 expected batting average. Travis Bazzana hit 97.7. That only had a 380 expected batting average. I'm sorry, that was the 10th inning when they had a runner on second base. So they had 3 really well-struck balls on Saturday that could have won the game in the 10th inning before Byron Buxton beat them again. And I also want to address this, Jeff. People were like really mad they didn't walk Buxton in the 11th inning, which I get. He had their only 2 hits. He had the leadoff home run, and then Tanner didn't allow a hit after that, and he didn't get a hit until the go-ahead double in the 11th inning. But Peyton Paulette probably shouldn't have been out there for a 2nd inning, but I get your options maybe were limited. And
you also, you got guys like 2 innings is a lot to ask. That's a lot. I think that was a bad call.
And Paulette also kind of walked the tightrope in the 10th inning. Like,
he did.
It was rough anyway. But he was 0-2 on Buxton. And if you put Buxton on with a walk, he's going to steal second. The runner was already on third. Like, it doesn't matter. You're putting the runner on second base. So even if Buxton gets on, you can't give him an extra base and give them 2 runs. So I don't think it would have been a good call. And Paulette was 0-2 on him. So I think you should have been able to put him away at 0-2. I don't care who you are at 0-2. Didn't do it.
I would have liked to go to Saturday just because they hadn't seen him. And you know, that's not even with me saying, hey, he was great on Sunday with 2 innings. It's like, go to the guy they've never seen, who's got strikeout stuff, because in extra innings, you want strikeout stuff. Like,
yes, exactly.
Not go to the guy who has command issues.
No. Although, like, I mean,
he did an okay job. Like, he walked a tightrope, as you said. It's just weird that a guy walks a tightrope. You're like, yeah, just leave him out there. Like, you're playing with fire and they got burned.
So, yeah, Paulette probably shouldn't have been in for the 2nd inning. Alman did look good on Sunday. I agree with you. I think I would have done that there, too. But the bullpen was already kind of they already used guys, and they were kind of on thin ice on Saturday. Let me ask you this, too. I forgot what inning it was. Was it the 10th inning or the 11th inning where Cleveland pinch ran Petey Halpin for
10th.
Stephen Kwan?
No, 11th. It was the.
I guess the when doesn't really matter, but
it was the 11th.
How interesting do you find that they pinch ran? Like, Kwan's not a slow runner. Obviously, Petey's faster. Like, I wonder how much of an upgrade that is on speed. But that's interesting to me. They were willing to pull Kwan in that situation. I was like, what does that say to you? Is it just them looking for a marginal upgrade on speed, or was like, do you think there's something more to that? Because that was interesting. I never thought they would pinch run for Kwan.
To me, that is a sign of maybe they're starting to be like, okay, like, we have to consider, like, if they're willing to make that trade-off. Like, if Kwan is hitting like Kwan of the past, they would never make that trade-off. They would never, ever do that. But yes. You're not going to remove, your second best hitter, your third best hitter from the lineup for a small upgrade in speed, because Kwan runs well enough. He's going to score, and he's a smart base runner.
His sprint speed's only in the 31st percentile.
It's gone down every single year with Kwan. But I don't think especially when you're down 1 run, I get what they're doing there, but man, I don't think they do that if he's not struggling.
Yeah, I mean, Petey Halpin's sprint speed is actually the same, by the way, 27. It's not. It was better last year. It hasn't been as good this year, but it's also a very small sample. But I don't know. I found that to be a very interesting like side note of that decision on that game. We got to talk about Gavin Williams Sunday's game a little bit. We also have to get into the Patrick Bailey trade that Jeff called his shot on. Of course, I want to talk about the moment we were texting each other when that happened too, because that was an interesting situation that was going on. And then we'll talk about what's next for Cooper Ingle, Kody Huff, and Bo Naylor. Stay tuned for a bold prediction at the end of today's show. We are in the middle of May, so baseball season is heating up. The weather in Cleveland's starting to turn a little bit. Time to get out to the ballpark, see those breakout rookies, that new acquisition, the division race, all that fun stuff. Whether it's MLB tickets, concert tickets especially, you get long queues, surprise fees that jump at checkout. Nobody likes that. That's why we like Game Time, because it's the app that gives advantages to fans like us with constant innovation. It's how you unlock amazing tickets and experiences. Just a couple taps. Very simple to use. I've used it many times. Game Time Guarantee gives you 100% authentic tickets delivered on time at the best price. So all the fees are included. So the price you see is the price you pay. I know I mentioned it multiple times. My wife is going to Cincinnati to see Benson Boone because those tickets were huge. Maybe you wait to the last minute to go to a baseball game, whether it's the weather or you got something else going on. You just want to wait for the best offer. Take the guesswork out of buying MLB tickets with Game Time. Download the app, create an account, use code Locked On for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply, but create your account. Download the app, redeem code LOCKEDON for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. Welcome back, everybody, to this episode of Locked On Guardians. If you were an everydayer or an insider, you would have known early Saturday morning that Bo Naylor was going to AAA. Didn't have a corresponding move, but you would have known early Saturday morning that Bo Naylor is being sent to AAA. If you're an everydayer, you get an ad-free episodes, all the ad-free episodes of all the shows, and access to our private Discord chat with me, Jeff, other fans of the show, listeners of the show, as well as other hosts around Locked On Network and other fans as well. There's a show for everybody, and you can join all those Discord channels and get ad-free episodes of Locked On Guardians. Go to LockedOnGuardians.com/supercast to check that out. The link is in the show notes, or you can click on joinsubtext.com/LockedOnGuardians if you just want text messages sent to your phone when updates like that occur. Plus, you get episodes where you get to give us mailbag questions, and we still do the monthly subscriber chat too. So we'll do that this Thursday. So if you want to hang out on the private Google chat or private video chat on Thursday, you can also get that as part of the bonus stuff. All right. Gavin Williams gave up 10 hits on Sunday. 7 of them were in the 5th inning. That was really strange. Like he looked really good all game. And then the 5th inning came and he left so many meatballs in the middle of the plate.
It was an Italian restaurant out there.
It really was. I was like, what is happening here in the 5th inning? Like I went back and looked at some of the pitch locations again. I'm like, slider, middle of the plate, fastball, middle of the plate. And I'm like, what happened here? He was good otherwise, but 10 hits is a lot for Gavin. 7 is a lot in 1 inning. I just wonder. I saw this great tweet, by the way, from or post on whatever you want to call it, Blue Sky, from Chris Towers, who is a podcaster and a fantasy baseball expert at CBS. Said, taking, this is from a fantasy tint, by the way, but taking some heat in the podcast from my Gavin Williams skepticism, but I think this is who he is. Awesome sometimes he's terrible. Doesn't ever seem to be rhyme or reason, just a frustrating pitcher. He might be a guy who is very talented, but ends up having some of those clunkers. And he's right. Like he gave up in April, Jeff, Gavin Williams had a 2.35 ERA and an 0.94 whip. Nobody was hitting him. The walks were an issue early on, but he kind of cleaned that up the last 4 starts of April. 2, 1, 2, 0. May comes around and he's given up 8 hits, now 10 hits and 10 runs in 12 innings, 13 strikeouts, 3 walks, but he's given up 10 runs in 12 innings and 18 hits. So the hits are starting to come a little bit too. Every time I want to say Gavin Williams is a Cy Young contender because of this performance, oh, he's on track. He turns around and he does this and doesn't redeem himself.
Well, we should know it's inevitable because go back to what we talked about all offseason. Like he is a very good pitcher, but he's also been very, very lucky. Like and eventually that stuff comes back to get you. It's like you can't constantly
Yeah.
just let guys get on base and nothing ever comes of it, right? Like his magic ability in the past when he was great in the second half was a unsustainably high left on base percentage, and that wasn't the case today.
Yeah.
Today everyone came home, and we saw that happen, and that stuff normalizes. So he had an exceptionally low BABIP, like that normalizes. There are just certain things that Gavin, when he's on, he's really on. But I agree with that. Like he's going to be up and down, and we've seen a lot of times where he's been lucky, and that helps as well. It was a situation where he didn't look great today. Like let's just be honest about that. And it could be like Patrick Bailey is a fantastic defensive catcher. We'll talk about that more in a bit, but it could also be a little bit of just not being the guy behind the plate that he's used to. Now he didn't have Hedges last start either because of changes. So, but remember when he kind of had his breakout, it was Hedges all the time with Williams.
Yeah. I mean, the pitch mix was generally the same. Like if you look at the percentages, his pitch mix he threw less cutters. That's the only thing. Everything else was kind of in line. So I don't know. Yeah, it could have been that. And the thing is, Gavin Williams had 24 whiffs in this game. He still missed a lot of bats. It's just that one inning sank him, and that seems where the Guardians are on their pitching staff. Like everybody kind of like they're good, but everybody kind of has their one inning where things kind of melt down. Tanner, Gavin, Joey, even Parker had that last time, and Slade. We know he gets to the fifth or sixth inning, and it's down the rabbit hole. And then the offense, they clawed their way back. Give them credit. They did claw their way back into the game, but didn't get the big hit when they needed to. And that's not really a surprise. Like Brian Rocchio had 4 hits. Great. Rhys Hoskins didn't come through in a pinch hit opportunity. We'll talk more about him this week. I feel like Quan, still a disaster. Everybody else had a hit besides Bailey, of course, and just didn't get the hits at the right time. Let's talk about Bailey here real quick. So I'm sitting at a Guardians event Saturday morning, and I had multiple videos. I just want to say I had multiple videos ready to go to post on YouTube that I recorded Friday night and Saturday morning about Bo Naylor being sent down. And I recorded one that was going to go up if it was Cooper Ingle, one that was going to be if it was Kody Huff. And then I recorded a generic one that just talked about Bo Naylor being sent to AAA. And I didn't know the corresponding move was going to be. I was prepared. I was not prepared for Patrick Bailey. For as much as we, you pitched that trade on Friday's episode, we said, oh, it's probably not going to happen. They won't do it. This is very out of character for Cleveland to make a trade like this early on. And I want to point out one specific thing before I let Jeff.
It's a buy low. We know they love a buy low. They love a bargain.
That is true. They've been trying to acquire Patrick Bailey for a couple of years now. And I thought the comments, though, were just so interesting. This is a situation where I want to point out that it's a listen to what they do or watch what they do, not what they say here. All the comments about acquiring Bailey and then setting down Bo Naylor had to do with Bo's offense. The Guardians didn't trade for Patrick Bailey for his offense, but that's all the Guardians talked about was his offense, was Bo Naylor's offense. They didn't say anything about his defense. Everybody knows that Patrick Bailey is not here to pick up the slack where Bo's offense was not working. That tells me the Guardians were not satisfied with Bo Naylor's defense. They won't say it out loud, but nobody is going to pretend that Patrick Bailey is going to be a good offensive player. He might be okay. He might be better than Bo Naylor if he gets to his career average, which is 72 WRC plus. But they all talked about Bo's offense. Yes, the offense was the problem. Clearly, his defense wasn't good enough to offset his offense. And Patrick Bailey is literally just here for his defense. That tells me that Bo's offense is also not up to par. And then it makes sense, right? Because they've thrown out 3 runners all year until Sunday. Now it's 4. Patrick Bailey threw out 1 of 3 runners.
Yeah, it's bottom line. We had heard from multiple sources throughout the years that like Bo doesn't necessarily call the best game. People watching at home can see sometimes.
It's not lack of effort, by the way, or lack of care.
Not, but it's just
Bo does put the work.
Puts the work in, but it's the questionable pass balls, the wild pitches, or maybe more pass balls, little things mounting up. The reason, and here's the thing, I know a lot of people out there just look at, Cooper Ingle's hitting 400. I'm going to remind you, Owen Miller was hitting 400 even later in May, and he still is not a major league hitter. So you can go back and listen to Friday's show for more on the ups and downs of the Cooper Ingle debate. But There is so much to the catcher position. It is not MLB The Show. It is not fantasy baseball. There is so much under the hood that is just not talked about, between like having to program the pitch comm and knowing every hitter and knowing all of their tendencies, because you don't have the time with the pitch clock anymore to get a call from the bench to the catcher in and make that work effectively for a lot of these pitchers who take a while to go. And getting a player like Patrick Bailey, I was just pulling up, if you look since 2023, who have the highest WARs, who are the players who have contributed the most wins to their team at the catching position. No surprise, Kyle Raleigh and William Contreras. No surprise, Will Smith, Adley Rutschman. Patrick Bailey is 5th on this list.
Without any offense, by the way.
Without any offense. He has, it just, if you're curious too, it's I got Bo Naylor down here at 22, right by Danny Jansen, and Kyle Higgy.
Kyle Higashioka.
Thank you. And if you just click on Fangraphs defensive value, during this time, Patrick Bailey has accrued a value of 102.4. Next closest is Alejandro Kirk.
Yeah.
At 63.7.
Almost double.
Yes. So we're in this situation where he is that much better than the league. And I know, and I get it, people want offense. The two things I'll say in Bailey's defense is, yeah, you're probably looking at roughly a Bo Naylor-esque offense. This year, he has a 186 WRC plus. He's a guy who's actually rocked a pretty high BABIP, unlike Bo.
186 BABIP, not WRC plus. Just want to make sure that was clear.
Sorry. Yeah, 186 BABIP. So he is about 110 points below his average. You give that to him, he'd actually be at a 256. That'd be the highest batting average he's ever had. So he's been really unlucky. The under the hood metrics are showing that he's been unlucky. So you're hoping for a general rebound offensively. He's never going to be a star, but he was playing in San Francisco. I know his home road splits said he hit better in San Francisco. Everyone tends to hit better at home. So there is a chance that maybe moving to Cleveland, he is a guy who hits the ball with a little bit of strength. So, there's a chance for that. And we come back from break, I'll give you a little bit more of my take, some things I got talking to San Francisco writers and some San Francisco people as well, to give some more reasons to be, beyond defense, why Patrick Bailey is an interesting addition.
It's Monday morning. I need a pick-me-up. I need something sweet, but I don't want the guilt. I don't want the sugar. I don't want to crash. So I am reaching for a Confetti Craze 5-hour energy shot that brings back the nostalgic flavor in a whole new way. It's the classic taste we all love, the birthday cake taste, with a tasty caffeine boost, 0 sugar, quick and easy way to get a sweet tooth, satisfaction, a little bit of boost, keeping things simple on the go. Friday night, I was out at the captain's game. Saturday, I had a lot of stuff to get ready for all day long. I had an event in the morning that I was at for the Guardians. Had some stuff to get prepared for Mother's Day. The Cavs played, the Guardians played late, and Sunday was Mother's Day. So I was on the go quite a bit this weekend. So I need some energy here on Monday morning, and I love the taste of birthday cake, but I don't want the sugar. I don't want the crash. I don't want the guilt. I need an energy boost, something nice, buttery, vanilla cake flavor. The Funfetti flavor is back on fiberenergy.com or on Amazon. Crack open Confetti Craze 5-hour energy shots today. As always, we are super grateful for anybody who makes Locked On Guardians your first listen today or any day, wherever you get podcasts. We're free everywhere. Hit the bell on YouTube and you get notified of when the episodes go live, when we post reaction videos to things like the Patrick Bailey trade, or when I go live to talk about the trade. So those are all up there for you as well. If you hit the bell on YouTube, you get notified of that. Auto download on all your favorite audio platforms, so you keep the show wherever you go in your feed. You would have got that in your feeds on Saturday because I put it up on audio after the live stream. So that would have been in your feed as well. You can go back and listen to the initial reaction to the trade. All right, Jeff. So what did you learn from talking to San Francisco writers about Patrick Bailey?
Okay. So before I do that, just a few final nuts and bolts here on Bailey himself. Should we point out you're getting essentially 4 years of control with him. That he is at a 2.1. So it's, he's not going to be a free agent until after the 2029 season. So it's a lot of control. And then just the return. People, had all sorts of feelings. One, Matt Wilkinson wasn't going to make my top 30 at any point this year. And two, he is going to be Rule 5 eligible at the end of the year with a good chance. The team might have gambled on him as a selection because you never have enough left-handed relievers. I don't think Cleveland would be able to keep him. So there's a good chance you're losing Matt Wilkinson at the end of the season, no matter what. In terms of the pick, I've been doing my draft write-ups because I do that here. That is part of I get it as an additional job through Locked On. Every year I do the draft videos. I am not liking this draft. Every time, like normally I'm sitting here in this kind of middle of the zone. I'm like, oh, it's great to pick in the teens. It's not this year. There's a lot of guys where I'm like, oh, okay, I thought Chris Hacapian, he's got this great batted ball data. And then I dive more and it's like, oh, he's overly passive, injuries. Okay, he's more of a guy in that, like, if you get one of the top 3 guys, great. After that, I'm like, oh, Jackson Flores is really fun, but he's got 2 pitches. Like that doesn't work as a starter anymore. And he's probably 4th on my board, and I'm saying that. The consensus is this is a 5 to 25 draft where it's all about the same, and then it falls off. So the pick to Cleveland, it stinks to lose it. It stinks to lose the money. And personally, like I'd rather have traded, like if you could have, like an Alfonso Rosario, but you couldn't have. Because San Francisco wanted the extra pool money, and the value of that pool money to a team like San Francisco is right now San Francisco could potentially be sitting there at 4, and we all assume Rock Chalowski, Grady Emerson 1, 2. I don't buy any of the other talk about buying Chalowski down the board. Those are going to be the top 2 guys, but they could potentially offer a Godfather deal to someone like Von Lackey, and then the Twins, who aren't going to be willing to spend their full slot, might decide to shift to another player. Like maybe the Twins are like, okay, we'll take Lombard instead. This might give them some ability to bully ball the Twins 1 spot ahead of them. I don't think it's going to give them the ability with the 2 teams ahead of them that have, more pool money than they do. It also gives them the ability to come back at 29. And the thing I'll say at 29 is you probably want to take a pitcher, college or prep. That's going to be the depth of the draft at that point. I love drafts, so I hate losing a pick. I hate it. But I still think this is an underpay when you're getting 4 years of team control of a player, counting this season. Like when you're getting that of a guy who has essentially been the best defensive player on the planet, maybe at any position, there's value in that. And they already weren't getting anything defensively or offensively out of catcher. So now you're upgrading it. You're having someone who calls games and talking to the San Francisco media. Sorry, I've been long-winded. They talked about through the years, pitchers have come up and talked just unprompted about how Bailey has helped them with pitch development, with mixes, giving them pointers, giving them ideas, helping them refine their pitches, not just like what you should throw and how you should throw it, but like helping their pitches get better. There's a lot of, Austin Hedges with him. And I'll say this too, like for everyone who's like, oh, he's just Austin Hedges. He's a much better defender than Hedges was at peak. That's just truth. Hedges was great. He's better. And Hedges was a guy who's WRC plus, which is, for those who don't know, I had an episode where I talked about it. You can go back and find that one in the feed. But it's essentially 100 is league average. It takes all of the information around the league and makes kind of an average data point for offensive production. Bailey's been in the 70 to 80 range. Not great. But Hedges was in the 40s for most of his time in Cleveland. So he's significantly better than Hedges. So it's that. And then the other interesting nugget or note is every single person, talked about what, he's another A+ person in this system. But everyone else also brought up that this dude in his 2 years, basically in San Francisco, I mean, I guess 3, if you count 2023, which was, a partial season for him, he had more clutch hits than maybe anyone on the Giants. For all of his struggles, he seemed to always come up in the clutch. For instance, he has more walk-off home runs than Buster Posey, the man who traded him. And one last coda before I know Justin wants to talk about relationships. And again, think how long Buster Posey played with the Giants. All of his big moments, and Patrick Bailey has more game-winning home runs. That's interesting. I've seen a lot of people be like, oh, you shouldn't trade for him because Buster Posey was a catcher. Go look at what's happened since Buster Posey took over the Giants. He has handed out some regrettable contracts. He has made some regrettable decisions. I think you can really question a lot of what Buster Posey has done. And just because a guy played a position great doesn't make him a great GM. Look at Dave Stewart with the Shelby Miller trade, the one that sunk the Arizona Diamondbacks. Look at the players he drafted and evaluated in his time with the Diamondbacks. Look at the number of former players who have had GM jobs who couldn't nail the position down. I wouldn't use that as an evaluative thing at all. Bottom line, they got a guy who's an alien defensively and offensively. Yes, this team needs offense. This doesn't help them, but I think the bigger issue is figuring out who's going to be leadoff. If I'm being honest, moving some lineup around. This team is better than a year ago. Just when you look at what Bazzana and Lada has brought, just looking at those two out of this lineup, I still believe Jose is going to catch fire. I am not as sold on Quan, and we've seen Manzardo picking up. We'll talk later in this week about maybe pinch hitting him less, but there's signs of life. This was a really, really annoying weekend. I am still buying full on this team. I think they got better. Just, if there is any drop off offensively, it's minor, and the increase defensively is major. They're a better team today than they were before this trade. And I guarantee you the minute this trade was announced, every single pitcher on this team was smiling. Guarantee. There is not a pitcher who was not, jumping up and down with joy when they heard Patrick Bailey was joining Austin Hedges to form the catching tandem here.
And it's not because they don't like Bo Naylor. I'm sure it's just that Patrick Bailey comes with a reputation of a two-time Gold Glove winner, Platinum Glove nominee. I mean, Austin Hedges even says when he wants to work on things,
this is who he goes to.
This is who he watches video on to work on stuff. So even Austin Hedges acknowledges that Patrick Bailey is a better defender than he is. Again, I said this on Saturday. If both these guys offensively, Bo Naylor and Patrick Bailey, are Fs, Patrick Bailey is an A+ defender, and I think
he's as ranked. He's as ranked.
Yeah, and I think Bo Naylor is a C. We'll be generous, and so you're going from a C to an A defensively. And look, I know everybody probably wants a 2025 Cal Raleigh who's having a terrible 2026. It'd be great to have a great hitting catcher, right? Hasn't been the case, and Mike Piazza and Pudge Rodriguez were not available for trades for a reason. In 2026 or before, unless you were the Florida Marlins or where did he go after
New York Mets? Right. Yeah, Dodgers to Marlins to Mets, all in 1 year.
And then he played for Oakland at one point. So you made the upgrade because of the defense. Like Cleveland said, they hadn't been out on the market looking for trades at catcher, which teams don't make trades of this magnitude in May usually. Cleveland had said, and I know we're careful about believe what they hear, watch what they do, not what they say. They said they weren't actively looking for a catcher on the market, but they felt like, they paid attention like you, Jeff, and they said, well, we just listened to Locked On Guardians and we heard that Patrick Bailey might be out of a job in San Francisco, and we've really liked him for a couple of years. I don't know if Chris Anthony subscribes to the podcast or right turn.
It certainly felt like it. I think I pitched him the why. Like I just
and they even said, you know what, those guys at Locked On Guardians are right. We should offer them Matt Wilkinson. I think you and I might have talked him out of trading the 29th pick, but I'm not that heartbroken over it.
I think that was a necessity for the Giants. I got to be honest.
I agree.
I think that was the driver.
There was that was the part A of the trade.
Yes.
I said George Valeri said they need a part A. You need a part A before you need part B so you can party.
I said Cooper Ingle could be their part A. Like I knew it would be something costly.
So
I would say this is less costly than Ingle. I would say that.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. We're not going to have really time to dive into all the things I wanted to dive into with Naylor, Ingle, and Huff. So I think we might save that for Monday.
But you got to talk the relationships before we run out of time.
Well, I don't want to talk about relationships so much.
Okay.
You mean with what, Hedges and the team?
Well, I just think it's interesting that him and Hedges are already established in the fantasy baseball, and then something that I haven't seen report anywhere is that he's an NC State catcher. So is Jacob Cozart. This is a guy who's already a mentor towards your someone who has a history with the top catching prospect in your system as well, which I think is interesting to point out. Like there's a lot of ties already to this org. Yeah,
Cozart and Bailey have a good relationship because of the area they grew up in the college they went to, and he and Hedges have been friends, and Bailey at one point did play some youth baseball with Gavin Williams in the North Carolina area, so they had that relationship too, not a ton, but a little bit. So there's a lot going on there, and Craig Albarnez was with San Francisco when Patrick Bailey was there, and Craig Albarnez jokingly texted Stephen Vogt, I saw this in a story, that sure, you guys wait till I leave to acquire Patrick Bailey. They've been wanting Patrick Bailey for a couple of years now. So, but my bold prediction here is we'll talk about more of this tomorrow. I'll get into the analysis of why, but I'll leave you with this. I think Bo Naylor has played his last game in the majors with Cleveland. He's going to Arizona to work on some things before he goes to Columbus. But we'll talk more about that tomorrow. But I think Bo Naylor, you've seen the last of him in Cleveland.
And I think you're right as well. I agree with you. We'll discuss that tomorrow. We'll talk about more catching in general, and we'll have a game to talk about because this team doesn't believe in off days. They're like us.
Yes, Guardians and Angels. Yeah. Guardian Angels, Monday. Can they make the Guardians hit with runners in scoring position? Or those
I'll say, I want to thank you to everyone for their first listen. We're 15 away from 6,000. So if you're a new listener, consider subscribing. We'd appreciate that. Thank you all for joining us. We hope we've explained a situation that I understand why it was confusing. Why did they add a guy who doesn't hit when they need hitting? Well, hopefully now you know. Thank you all, and go Guardians, go.